Ah, Cubix. I remember when I was a kid, my brother and I would scramble over to the TV and watch Toon's Eye on the CW network. With Cubix, we would also watch The Spectacular Spider-Man, 2003's TMNT, Sonic X, and Yu-Gi-Oh! While I only managed to watch a few episodes of Cubix, it was beautiful. It's a fun, campy, simple, and entertaining Saturday morning cartoon to sit back and relax to. Sure, the premise has aged a bit. It has your animated 2000 series friend group archetypes, and the villain is your standard
"I'll get you next time, brats. You hear me?"
type of antagonist, but that's a big part of its charm, and why I love Cubix so much. I should probably explain what the premise of Cubix is about. Not just for summary's sake, but because I'm pretty sure not everyone has gone out of their way to watch a South Korean animated show about robots with emotions. Cubix, or Cubix Robots for Everyone, as it's called in America, follows the adventures of Connor, Abby, Chip, and Mong, with their respective robot companions, Cubix, Don-Don, Cerebrix, and Maximix, in their adventures around Bubbletown, a city with just as many robots as people. They're known as the Bodies, a group who works at the repair shop, the Bodies Pit, for Hella, the owner. And what makes the robots in Cubix special is they have an EPU, or Emotional Processing Unit. If it wasn't obvious enough already, that means robots can develop personalities, just like humans. Now how this factors into the conflict of Cubix is Solex, a compound that has incredible power, but when placed into a robot and they are under extreme emotions or stress, it causes them to go haywire and also get incredibly strong. Their antagonist is none other than Dr. K, a rogue robot developer who has a penchant for naming his robots beginning with, you guessed it, K, and also wanting Solex. Fortunately though, the robot to deal with all these conflicts is none other than Cubix. You see, Cubix is special, and not just because he's the title character, but for his ability. Cubix is able to reform his body and generate numerous contraptions and vehicles, while also containing a number of devices throughout his base form that can pull the Bodies team out of a pinch. He's essentially the robot equivalent of a Swiss Army knife. Also, the big guy is a cinnamon roll. Look at this face. Look at his face and tell me Cubix isn't an adorable bundle of friendship and metal. I dare you. But Cubix, when all's said and done, isn't a deep or thought-provoking series. It's something you'd sit down with and watch alongside your younger siblings or cousin or friends on a weekend afternoon. It's a campy 26-episode ride that doesn't take itself too seriously, and oozes with late 90s, early 2000s Saturday morning cartoon hero energy. Though, as this is not the main topic of the video, I am going to save talking about the cartoon for a later date. I'm Mr. J, and I want you to have a day. Cubix Showdown is a flimsy game that spits on the LED screen of Cubix. How, you may ask? Well, here, I'll show you. Let's start up a new game on file, and oh, it doesn't look that bad. The character models share the same dated look to the ones from the show, with that plasticky, early 2000s CGI look to them. I'm forgetting why I didn't like this game. What was it? Oh, right. That's what gave me nightmares. You see, the first problem I have is the character rigs have no facial emotion. They just flap their heads up and down to talk like this. That 30 seconds of gibberish? That was to show you that they did not work on the facial animations whatsoever. But I'm not gonna bash on the development team, because if you take a look at the credits, it tells you they were doing the best with what they had. The character models, robots, and Bubbletown were nicely translated into the game, faults and all. No, the problem is it looks like they bit off more than they could chew and made the character models come off as uncanny and disturbing with the limited animation. Admittedly, I'm not an expert when it comes to PlayStation and PlayStation 2 and what their hardware can handle, but hear me out. I think if the devs zoomed out on the characters somewhat and used their body language instead of the dead facial language that they use to emote in cutscenes, or they took a little more time to perfect the facial animations of the characters, then that's one problem I have crossed off the list. I know it's a, let's see here, 23-year-old game, but either account for your shortcomings or polish it up. The questionable lighting plus bad facial animations equals a game ripe with nightmare fuel. Look at the overall presentation and tell me you aren't going to wake up in a cold sweat after seeing this. PS2 Connor is my sleep paralysis demon. And the only other, albeit small, problem I had was the audio mixing was a mixed bag. The title and battle music, they were crisp and clean. But then you go to the game, and you have to go into the menu to fiddle around with the audio mixing. And you may wonder why, and that's because either everything is too loud or too quiet on the basic settings.
These red power blocks are activated by jumping above them and pressing square.
Ah, yes, Hella. I can totally hear you in this loud area where your normal speaking volume is completely and coherently heard.
All right! All right! All right! These red power blocks are activated by jumping above them and pressing square.
Ah, there. Much better. And you know, with all of that out of the way, there is something much worse than the wonky visual and audio presentation. My main issue is Cubix Showdown isn't really an action-adventure RPG, and I have good reason to say this. Let me elaborate. An action-adventure RPG obviously has elements from 3 types of games. Most action-adventure games typically involve a fusion of puzzle solving and moving around the environment to progress to the next area, while at the same time having the player in segments and/or isolated areas where their reflexes and/or hand-eye coordination are put to the test. An RPG is a role-playing game typically where you take control of a character, level up via quests and battles, utilize your stats to determine the strengths and abilities of your character, and a large end goal to complete. There's nuance and a lot to unpack in the genres I mentioned, but here is not the time nor place to talk about it. Cubix Showdown does well enough as an action-adventure game for children. The puzzles can easily be solved by a kid, and the only real action is some incredibly minor platforming, and not getting hurt by the robots while solving a puzzle, or standing in front of them like a complete moron. I'm not judging Showdown on that front. As I said in my Avatar: The Last Airbender, the video game video, it's meant to be simple because it's for kids. I am going to judge it, however, on its turn-based combat. By my broad definition of a role-playing game, Cubix Showdown technically qualifies as an RPG. It has turn-based combat, it has stats, and you have combat mechanics, but it's the most bare-bones and surface level of everything. But also keep in mind, as I'm going to continue into this, I'm not a game developer, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. After watching the opening cutscene and going through the worst tutorial I've ever played in a game, it's then off to Bubbletown to stop the out-of-control robots. At this point, I was mulling over what I had learned. The robots only grow in health and attack power, and none of their other stats change. There's 5 elements: physical, fire, water, radiation, and electricity, but they only serve as a cheap copy to what other monster-catching games provide. You choose between an aggressive, standard, and offensive attack before choosing an EPU chip, and the EPU chips are mostly unhelpful. Yeah, they provide combat bonuses, but it doesn't save the lackluster combat mechanics from being bad. You are quite literally stopping a moving flapper on a colored wheel. If you don't watch the wheel and time it right, your opponent gets the attack. Then, after trudging through a construction site and Bubble Town again, but this time at night, another thing became apparent. The overall combat loop isn't fun because it punishes me for my hand-eye coordination. I did the action-adventure stuff, and in between that, found a Solex-infected robot strolling around. I initiated combat, picked my robots in a rock-paper-scissors match, then I did another rock-paper-scissors match to decide the attack power, use an EPU chip if I wanted, pay attention to the flapper, and hope and pray that I didn't press the button at the wrong time and have it land on my opponent's color. Such riveting combat! And then, the attack choices are just awful, coupled into the weird predictions you need to make when attacking, because you're either mitigating 25, 50, or 75% of the respective damage if you lose. Combine the fact that the abilities of the EPU chips fit more with a turn-based RPG, and how the element system really only affects the damage modifier, it's not hard to see why the combat is bad. And that's because if you use an offensive EPU chip and mess up your attack, that's it. You wasted a chip. Same thing with the defensive and wheel chips. The only problem here is that the defensive ones are more for softening the blow to a failed attack, and the wheel chips blow chunks for how little they affect the combat. At that point, just close your eyes and press whatever button stops the flapper. And finally, upon reaching and trashing Dr. K's secret lab, I found out why I didn't love Cubix Showdown. The RPG label doesn't fit in this game because it feels more like that was shoved in at the last minute to pad it out. I love RPGs, that's part of my personality, and I love it when this genre gives me a new mechanic to play with. The problem in Showdown is unlike, say for example, the Mario RPGs, where proper timing can inflict more damage to your opponent, or mitigate the damage your opponent inflicts onto you. Proper timing in Cubix Showdown dictates whether you get to attack or not. You know, the antithesis of good interaction. Taking away my chance to attack because I had a sleeper in my eye, or I pressed the button a millisecond too late, isn't fun. I'm realizing this could turn into a 3-hour rant, so to keep it from doing that, what my interjection will be is the devs should have just cut out the RPG combat mechanics and stuck with an action-adventure game. You add a few more hours of exploring Bubble Town, doing puzzles to capture the robots with Dr. K's Solex, and platforming and adventuring around town, and if necessary, you add a basic combat system that doesn't bite off more than it could chew, then it would have made Cubix Showdown a lot simpler, and a lot more engaging for little kids wanting to play the game. There's also challenge mode and tournament mode, but I'm not playing them, because I've already played through this game 3 times, and I hate the combat if it wasn't apparent enough already. As for the mini-games, they're okay. That's it. It's just... I don't know how to entirely explain it, but I'll try. My main issue is that, yeah, they're fun and they're good mindless entertainment, but what happens after that? You get what, like maybe 2-3 hours of entertainment out of them, and then you never play them again? And since they're not integrated into the main story, it's just... If I didn't even cycle through the menu, I wouldn't have known they existed, so unfortunately, it's just kind of like, they're okay, but since there's nothing more of value to them than just 2 to 3 hours of wasting your time, and then nothing else, I don't know. They're just gonna leave your mind the moment you're done playing. Actually, I don't even remember what minigames I played. That tells you how much I cared in the grand scheme of things. Hey folks, post-editing me here. You wanna know something really fun? Don't you just love having to start up a new game? Don't you just love when you have to go back in to try and get more footage because the footage you already got corrupted somehow? And then when you go back in, you realize, oh wait, I can't restart from another level. I have to play through the game, and it doesn't let me do that. And even if I go to the other menus in the game, I still can't go back to the areas because it only lets me redo battles. So then you have to restart another save file just so you can get more footage. Don't you just love that? Don't you? Don't you? You may have noticed I didn't go over the story of Cubix Showdown that much, and that's honestly because it moves at hypersonic speed. The game took me a little under 2 hours to beat the first time around, but by that time, the game is already over. The plot of Showdown, just in a compact format, is Dr. K loses his Solex, and you have to fight the robots who got infected. Leave Connor's house, go to Bubbletown, find the robots, and beat the robots. You go to the Bubbletown construction site, and beat up more robots. Head back to town at night, and again, fight more robots. Then, go to Dr. K's hideout, and you guessed it, break into his lab, loot everything, beat up the rogue bots with Solex, and give the good doctor a swift kick in the can. That all culminates in Dr. K using the Solex collected for his emotional Nope. Okay, you take it away, Dr. K.
My masterpiece is complete. Allow me to show you its dastardly result. So you see, your friend Cubix is now my friend Cubix. With a K, of course. Behold the genius of my emotional processing unit negatizer.
Dr. K turns Cubix evil, and after a brief fight, Cubix is good again. Then, upon thrashing Dr. K and Colossal, the bodies have a 2000s, "Gee gang, that was a crazy day we sure had. Now let's head back home for victory tacos." That's it. That's the story.
We saved all the robots too, including poor diagnostics.
And earned ourselves donuts. I want apple and cinnamon with toffee filling and extra sprinkles.
We'll have to work pretty hard to fix up all the malfunctioning robots, though. Still, that's the best part. Once we've finished, we should be almost as experienced as Hella.
It's official then. There's no downside. And on top of all that, I got out of my chores. Dad'll have finished unpacking by now. That's so cool.
I just wanted to tell you all that things are under control here at the Bodies Pit, and I'm proud of you guys. It seems that if you work together and bring your different skills to a problem, there's nothing you can't do.
That's it?
So to start winding down, what I did find in my search for the development of Cubix Showdown led me to the only article I found for the game. It was from GameSpot that came out in August of 2002, focused on 3DO's game lineup of that year. Oh no. Oh no, 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 oh not them. No, 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 no. I'm already close to ending the video talking about that nightmare of a gaming publisher as another topic for another time. Now to get back on topic, it says Cubix Showdown is a turn-based strategy game based on the show. A game for younger audiences where the player will trade and collect robots and use those robot parts to build robots in story mode and explore the city of Bubbletown. And unfortunately, since 3DO is involved, the most elegant way this article can be memed is...
So that was a fucking lie.
Well, since I've taken a swing at the publishers, I might as well see who the developers were. Let me see here. Blitz Games. Wait, these guys develop games for Nickelodeon. Breaking the Rules? Its sequel Shadow Showdown? Creature from the Krusty Krab? Atlantis Square Panis? I've played these absolute gems. Oh, wait, and they developed the Burger King Xbox games! Yo! Oh, I am glad they made some great games after this. I'm confused at what possibly transpired in production, but hey, they made some absolutely wonderful games afterward. I wonder where they are now. Oh, dang, they closed their doors in 2013. Oh, wait, they became Radiant Worlds Limited immediately afterward, and, not again. Oh, wait, never mind. They're now a subsidiary of Rebellion Developments, now known as Rebellion Warwick. Good luck with your future endeavors, Rebellion Warwick. I do not, however, feel bad for 3DO. They were in the gaming business for 12 years and then died. What makes the development section of Cubix Showdown funny is it's just this. The game was originally intended to be released in September 2002, but was delayed to June 2003, shortly after 3DO went defunct. I don't know why this is funny. It shouldn't be, but it is. And even though I don't like it, Cubix Showdown isn't a terrible game. I mean, if Blitz Games focused more on making it an action-adventure game with more to do, then I think it would have made a larger and more positive impact on the gaming community. But at the end of the day, Cubix Showdown didn't do too well. It exists as it does now. I own a copy of it, and it sits next to about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 RPGs of better quality in my game library. And honestly, if you want a better action-adventure game, just poke around. There's dozens of them to choose from. For RPGs, this picture obviously tells you what my favorite genre is. But if you really want to torture yourself with Cubix Showdown, then be my guest. I'm a fictional character talking about a subpar piece of media. I have no bearing on what you decide to play or not. I'm Mr. J. This has been a mentally and emotionally draining experience, so I'm going to watch Cubix again because I need something to cheer me up. Well, later.